This isn't a debriefing where we talk about a lesson, but it's a debriefing where we talk about my future and different ways I can grow as a teacher in a professional capacity. What things can I improve on, and how can I improve upon those things? So in the PDP plan, this is actually something of a personal goal and something for me to work on as a teacher as well, and that's being more organized. I don't know how many students I would have if I were a teacher in America in a high school. Here, altogether, I have somewhere near the 250 range. Yeah. So it's hard sometimes for me to stay organized and on top of everything. I get all the work done, but sometimes it's less pleasant than I think it could be, or less efficient than it could be.
Is there anything you have changed since being in this school or since starting this course that has helped you? Or?
Well, I think my first year was very difficult here in terms of the numbers. Yeah.
So.
And I learned a lot from that first year, getting things graded right away, as soon as possible, rather than just pushing it all, the 2 or 3 days before the grades are due.
Like me.
Yeah. Well, so we all been there, happened last semester. Getting it done as soon as possible, because you have the temptation as soon as class is over, like, okay, I can rest.
Yeah. Okay.
Relax. So doing that. I don't know that I'm like a visually oriented person, but maybe like having some kind of a graphic organizer would be helpful.
Okay, yeah. Well, I am, so I do use those sorts of things, or technology related anyway. That depends heavily on what kind of person you are, how you learn yourself. I forgot what I was going to say now. Is there anywhere outside the school that you've seen kind of best practice from other people?
In other professional spheres?
No, in teaching. Well, you could from others as well, but in teaching. But people, obviously, there's teachers who have their own blogs and post on YouTube and stuff like that. Have you seen anything that?
There's I don't know if you know this YouTuber. He does a lot of educational videos. CGP Gray or CPG Gray.
Oh yeah, I do watch them actually.
Yeah.
I like the way they listen.
Yeah, so he used to be a teacher before he switched to YouTubing full time. And one of his videos was about teaching. Yeah. And how he had I should rewatch it because I forget the exact details. But he said that one of the things that made his life so much easier was always carrying around a clipboard. Okay. And it has like extra worksheets, whatever you're doing. It has the plan laid out. Yeah. It has a photocopy of everyone's name in that class. So things like that would be really helpful. Also, it's kind of just a matter of being consistent enough to form a habit.
Yeah, sure. Anything else from that you've seen? I know that they have obviously the teacher or the best teacher. I forget what they actually call it, but best teachers in the world. There's those prizes now and everything. You see them every year. Have you seen any of those? Or?
No, it's a good idea though. I know, like in the States, we do the each school have a teacher of the year. I think there's a teacher of the district, teacher of the state, teacher of the nation.
Yeah, this is a big prize. Now, I don't know whether it's Bill Gates or somebody puts up the money or something, but it's a global teacher prize and so on.
I'll look into that.
It's good to read because they're usually bloggers as well, and it's good to read their experiences and how they developed. I can see you have to learn quickly here from the first year because it is a bit of a mess in the first year. We all were. So I can see anyway that since you've been here that you have become definitely more organized. As with everybody, you can always learn more.
The next point. Actually, I had some very specific students in mind when I was doing this, and it's Chuck from 200A.
Yes.
Students like that, they finish work really quickly. How can I keep them occupied all the time? I found it's easier to teach a class at a lower level than a higher level. At a lower level, there's always something else you can think of that they don't know. Yeah. Whereas like a higher level class, there's not always something that you can think of the top of your head that they could learn about. So I think one thing I could do for that would be talking to my coworkers. Sometimes I think they're busy, I don't want to bother them. But it'll bother me too, so it's okay.
Yeah, sure. No, I've been to the Oxford teacher training things and everything, and they also say just make sure you have something for the quick finishers. Always have something for them. I don't know. It may not even be related to the English or what they're studying in Chuck's case or whatever. I think he's quite mechanically minded, right?
Yeah.
Some sorts of puzzles or some English related, some relation to English anyway. He seems to be very mechanically minded.
I'd say so, yeah.
So, not just for him anyway. It's important, right, to have stuff for the early finishers and everything. And also, it is possible as well to get them to help the slower students, which you've done anyway. I've seen you do in the class.
With all these things, I could always read more. I guess I'm less inclined to read and research now because I'm already in my studies. I don't want to read more.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the future, it's good to know.
Yeah, I mean that's what it's all about. Just keeping up, finding the people who do these things well, and learn from them. What about the management, classroom management?
I don't think it's so much an issue of behavior. I think, generally speaking, my classes are well behaved. But more like the individual procedures that will lead to a smoother class. And I think that ties into organizational skills. I guess sometimes when you're planning a lesson, there's a bit of an oversight where I neglect to think more in depth about something, or I assume it will be self-explanatory to the students.
That's always the problem.
Yeah. So I guess like attention to detail would be a way I could benefit from. Would be a way I could benefit in the classroom and improving how cohesive the flow is. And
is there
go ahead.
Is there anything you changed since doing this?
I would say my lessons since I've started this program, my lessons are more detailed.
Yeah.
So I guess they're more thoroughly planned. So that it is improving. Yeah, definitely improving. I also mentioned because here it's monoculture, everyone's Taiwanese.
Yeah.
But in the future, I could be somewhere where that's not the case. And in that situation, I would need to think about how I could make the classroom more inviting to minority students, different ethnicities, gender orientations, etc.
How do you see yourself coping with that? I mean, I don't have the experience either. I mean, when I went to school in Ireland, there's like very little diversity, practically none. Different today, but so I don't have experience with it either. How do you see yourself coping with that?
I would.
I mean, you grew up in America, so you more experience of.
Yeah, I would say it'll be a new experience for me, but I think demonstrating what you want out of the students and yourself will go a long way. I think because I noticed one thing quickly is that the students often imitate your behavior, or even down to the very things you say.
Yeah.
Like if there's if you have a quirk or a catchphrase or whatever, they'll often tease you about that.
Yes.
Maybe they're trying to mimic you, maybe they're trying to tease you, but they'll say it. So I think there's a bit of a monkey see, monkey do thing going on there. And if you demonstrate kindness, openness, respect, etc., to students that might be completely different from yourself, they can pick up on that. That'd be my idea. And some students don't have the necessary life experience that will show them that being respectful, open, etc. is important. So it might be a case of you actually having to teach that this is not an issue you need to concern ourselves with. If a person is different, they still deserve our respect. One thing here is students will tease each other if they're slightly darker, their skin tone.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I try to always tell them. This is not a big deal. I don't know why you.
Yeah, well, you see that here as well when you show images or video or whatever of people from different ethnicities. They always comment.
Yeah, even though they're all Taiwanese here, but it's not even an issue of racism. It's just a difference, and it's enough for them to want to talk about it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I guess I could have mentioned technology. I know you do a lot of PowerPoint wizardry. Is there anything you've learned in incorporating PowerPoint? What to do, what not to do?
Well, it's the same thing as with anything with PowerPoint. It's just that it's a tool to get your point across or illustrate something, and that's the way it should be treated. It's the same with all the rest of the tech stuff. It's useful in that it can get them to learn or understand, and just to keep that in mind all the time. It's not to use it just because it's there. I think you did something on Twitter and so on. Wildly popular, obviously, Twitter, well, not so much here, but in America. But I think just because it's there doesn't mean it's necessarily of much use to learning or in the classroom itself. But there are plenty of technologies that could be used. Sure.
Were you able to integrate technology more in your? I think you were in Korea before this, yeah.
In Korea, no, it wasn't actually a big thing, which is weird because Korea seems more high tech than many of the Western countries. They did not play a part there. Well, not in my classroom, but in their own classrooms, the Korean teachers' classrooms, they do have a lot of software for teaching English.
Okay.
So the kids would spend quite a bit of time on the computer. Doing activities on the computer, so they actually did in that sense make a big use of it.
Okay.
So, yeah, but us as teachers there, no, not so much.
Right.
They do have the smart boards. Yeah.
Okay.
I think back then anyway, they were fairly limited in what you could do with them anyway.
Every room had a smart board.
The school I was in, yes.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. But I mean, I think they didn't really do so much back then. I think they're a bit better now. They've developed a bit more of the smart boards, so you can do more with them. But yeah, I mean, if technology comes along that works in developing a lesson, that's great. But that's all it's supposed to be doing. I think, not for its own sake, just because it exists.
Yeah, I'd say you don't necessarily need it, but because it's a part of life, it's encouraged. In some ways, the schools here, the way they're built, kind of looks primitive compared to schools in the States, right? We have exposed hallways. They're open to the elements. Structurally, it's not as aesthetically appealing.
Yeah.
It's not as fancy, but they still learn.
Yeah, but I think the technology, because I used PowerPoint for more with the elementary, but for game activities and everything, that is very useful because it breaks up the class.
Sure.
And it's something the little kids anyway, look forward to doing, so that their lesson isn't too boring for them, because they have a lot of school, right? So it's useful in that, and I think other things like, what do you call it, Kahoot and them. We're thinking about getting tablets here for the students to use. It's basically to be answering quizzes using the tablet and the projector screen. So we want to do that maybe next year. So that'll add something different and break up the class a bit as well.
Yeah.
So
it's a good idea.
There'll be leaderboards and stuff as well. Something like that, the competitive side of it. But yeah, you have to be in a place, I guess, to be able to that supports using technology and has the money to invest in it as well.
Yeah.
It is a bit limited here what you can do. So.
No, thank you very much.
Sure. No problem.